Let's face it, riding a motorcycle requires more risk than driving a car. It just does. Statistics have proven that over and over. But it does not have to be as risky as many people believe. There are techniques that can be employed to help us manage the risk of riding, and that's what MCrider is all about. Using road skills and road strategy to greatly reduce the risk of riding. But in spite of our best efforts to ride within our skill set and to use good road strategy on the road, there are certain situations that are more dangerous than others. In these situations, it requires the rider to remain hyper-vigilant and focused on the task of riding. This week on MCrider, we'll look at 3 dangerous road situations for a rider and how to safely get through it. So the first situation that we'll mention are intersections or a left-turning car. There are situations that car drivers drive through on a daily basis and never give a second thought. One of those situations is an intersection. Cars drive through an intersection and give very little thought to the potential threat, but on a motorcycle, it's a different situation. Yes, you do need to treat that left-turning car at the intersection as an immediate and imminent threat to you on a motorcycle. Cars cutting in front of a motorcycle and causing a crash are one of the most likely scenarios of a crash and one of the most common ways that riders are killed. Dealing with a car pulling out in front of you requires full use of your road strategy and potentially your road skills. If employed correctly, your road strategy may keep that bad event from ever occurring in the first place. And if in spite of your best road strategy, the car still pulls out, your road skills are a great ace up your sleeve if practiced regularly and employed correctly. So what road strategies can help at intersections? Well, before you ever get out on the road, you can add extra lights to the front of your motorcycle. You can wear high-vis gear and brightly colored or a white helmet. Using these techniques alone can increase the odds that you're going to be seen at the intersection. Before you approach the intersection, you can slow down. Treat every intersection as a potential trap and travel at a rate of speed that allows you to react to any hazards on the road. Anticipate the car pulling out in front of you by watching the wheels of the car, not the driver. How many times have you heard a rider say, "Man, that car driver looked right at me and pulled out anyway"? Well, looking in your direction is not the same as registering you mentally. The driver's eyes will lie, but that front tire will not. Pay attention to the front tires of the car, and you'll know exactly what that driver's going to do. Don't hide yourself behind traffic in an intersection. It's important to see and be seen. Keep your motorcycle in position to be seen. So if in spite of your best efforts that car pulls out anyway, there are road skills that you can employ, and these 3 skills are particularly useful in that situation. First is emergency braking, and the time to brush up on this skill is not when that car pulls out in front of you. You need to do it today to be prepared for that tomorrow. The second is swerving, because sometimes braking is not an option, and having good swerving skills could potentially be a lifesaver. And the third one I want to mention is that brake and escape. This skill teaches you to use emergency braking to scrub speed off and then use a swerve to avoid the hazard. This is a great skill to have if there is some time to brake, but not enough to avoid the crash altogether. For this video, I put a special playlist together to teach you these 3 skills. Just go to mcrider.com/3 skills, the number 3 skills, and it will direct you to the playlist and give you exercises that you can practice these skills on any open parking lot. The next dangerous situation is something that many riders seek out because they're so much fun on a motorcycle, and that's corners. The most riders who crash with a car do so at an intersection. Most riders who crash with no one else around do so in a corner. Now, there are tons of reasons that so many riders crash in the corner. And a lot of these reasons are things like not understanding motorcycle cornering technique to begin with, carrying too much speed into the corner, fear of leaning the motorcycle. A lot of riders crash with a whole lot of lean angle left that they could have avoided the crash altogether. And a big one is poor head and eye usage. Now, poor head and eye usage is going to affect things like the corner being sharper than the rider thought, debris in the corner because they didn't see it in time, motorcycle running wide because they're not looking through the corner and looking where they want to go. Affects target fixation. I mean, it could be a whole video on this topic alone of proper use of your head and eyes. So how do you fix cornering problems? It all starts with training and practice. I listed training first on purpose because it's important to have the correct technique for cornering. It doesn't matter how much you practice if you're doing it wrong in the first place. So seek out an intermediate or an advanced class in your area that focuses on cornering. And just take a track day if they have instructors who are there to help. Let them know up front that you're interested in being a better street rider and you have no interest in road racing, and they'll have tips that you can employ out on the track that will help you once you get back out on the street. In addition to the formal training, I've got a lot of videos on the subject of cornering here on MCrider. Just go into YouTube and do a search for MCrider Corner, and you'll get a whole list of videos dedicated to that subject. In the videos taught on MCrider, I've discussed 2 different cornering techniques, and I believe that for the new rider, that slow look, press and roll technique is the best. And I have a complete description of that and other videos. Just go to mcrider.com/corner and it'll take you to the playlist to discuss that slow look, press and roll technique. For the advanced rider who's mastered brake and throttle control and are comfortable using slow look, press and roll, you can begin to start to experiment with trail braking. You can find these videos by searching mcrider.com/trailbrake. And I probably use this more out on the road than I do the slow look, press and roll technique now. So it's a very safe technique when employed properly out on the street. It's not about getting around that corner faster, it's about getting around that corner safer, and that's how I use trail braking on the streets. But regardless of which method you use, it's important to do it correctly. And then once you have the technique down, to practice it and develop that sound technique into your daily riding habits. That way, the next time you're out on the road and that corner is sharper than you thought, you'll have the skills to deal with it. So we mentioned 2 of the biggest hazards for riders, that's intersections and corners. This third danger doesn't count for as many crashes, but it is particularly lethal when it does occur. And sadly, it took the life of one of the supporters of MCrider in just the last month. That's deer and animal strikes. Deer strikes in particular are difficult, and it happens quickly, usually with little warning, and a strike almost always precedes a crash, and it's often at higher speeds. It would seem that there's not a whole lot you can do about hitting a deer on a motorcycle. But there are a few tips that will reduce the likelihood of being involved in that type of crash. Here are a few tips that can hopefully help you avoid a deer strike. Be especially attentive during peak deer hours. So from sunset to midnight and during the hours shortly before and after sunrise are the highest risk times for deer vehicle collisions. Use extra caution when driving through deer crossing zones. Also be especially careful in places known to have a large deer population and in areas where roads divide agricultural fields from forest land, because deer will be crossing back and forth getting into the feeding areas. Know that deer seldom run alone. So if you see one deer, others are likely nearby. So seeing one deer anywhere near the road should be enough to put any rider on high alert. If you're riding at night, use your high beams when there's no oncoming traffic. The higher light will better illuminate the eyes of the deer on or near the roadway. In the end, Practicing good road strategy and developing good road skills will help you in these and every other situation out on the road. If you ride, you need to subscribe to this channel. I release a new video every Friday morning that will help make you a better rider and increase your enjoyment while riding a motorcycle. Subscribe to the weekly email at MCrider.com and you'll get videos delivered directly to your inbox. If you want to get the most from MCrider, support the channel at MCrider.com/support or become a member on YouTube. Especially if you're on your phone, you can click that button right below on how to become a member. You'll get access to the forums and the field guide. It has a wealth of knowledge from other riders from all over the world and practice exercises in the field guide to help you sharpen and maintain your road skills. So we'll continue this discussion over on the forums, and I hope to see you over there. Till next week, guys, this is Kevin with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road. There are multiple ways to support the channel. You can become a member on YouTube at mcrider.com/member or support the channel through Patreon at mcrider.com/support. Either way, you'll get full access to the forum and the field guides, which will further the training that we release here on a weekly basis.